Thank you for investing a few moments of your time in learning more about the legacy ornamental mills and the ornamental milling process.
If you own a router, you already know that it is one of the most powerful tools in your shop. It mills a profile with a beautiful finish. There's only one problem. There is almost no way to control it. You can either move it freehand using a bit with a bearing, or mount the router upside down on a table. The router table is an example of an effort to achieve more control of the milling process. However, the added control is minimal. All you can really do is move the wood over the bit. The legacy ornamental mill takes this simple concept to another level altogether. With an ornamental mill, the operator has precise control of the router and the stock. The router and the stock can even be controlled simultaneously to create spectacular results. Under control, a router becomes an incredibly powerful tool. Imagine having up to 3 horsepower at your disposal for cutting, carving, milling, and shaping wood.
In this video, we will show you how to use your plunge router to perform 5 powerful woodworking processes. We will also share with you some of the ways woodworkers like you are using our ornamental mills to create woodworking masterpieces, improve their bottom line, or simply experience more of the joy of creating in wood.
These 5 processes are XYZ milling, contoured milling, tapered milling, indexed milling, and spiral milling. We will begin with a quick tour of the legacy ornamental mill and identify its major components. The router is mounted in the router carriage, which controls the travel of the router along the short and long axes of the machine. The headstock and tailstock are used to mount a workpiece between centers. The spindle shaft has a 1x8 thread to accommodate lathe-type accessories such as a self-centering 4-jaw chuck or faceplate. It also has a number 2 Morse taper pilot hole for accessories such as a pen mandrel, standard drive spur, and our index drive center. The index drive center comes standard on the Legacy along with 4 index hubs that make duplication fast and simple. The bed of the ornamental mill supports the headstock and the tailstock, and it can also be used to support a flat work table, used for flat stock milling operations. In each of the 4 corners of the machine are slotted legs, which allow the bed to move up and down to accommodate different diameter of spindle work or different thicknesses of flat stock. By raising or lowering one end, you can mill tapers. The index pin locks the workpiece securely in place in any of the 24 evenly spaced positions. Different indexing plates are also available. The stylus allows the router to follow a template for spindles or flat patterns. And finally, the spirals and twists are achieved by using the gears.
Now that you know a little bit more about the legacy ornamental mill, let's take a close-up look at its first feature, XYZ milling.
The router can be moved along the long axis of the mill. We refer to this as the X-axis. It can be moved freely or under the control of the drive screw. Each turn of the handle moves the router 1/4 of an inch. A half a turn equals 1/8 of an inch, or 4 turns equals 1 inch, and so on. By using the lead screw, scale, and stops, you have tremendous control of the router. The router can also be moved perpendicular to the long axis of the mill. We call this the Y-axis. It can also be moved freely or under the control of the lead screw. Using a plunge router with a depth stop, the operator controls the depth of the cut, or the Z-axis. Here you can see a simple yet powerful process that will allow you to create your own custom flat moldings for your projects. To begin with, you can mill the stock perfectly flat. There are 2 advantages to using the Legacy to plane your stock flat. First, you will remove any bow or twist, and second, you can mill highly figured wood with no tear out. To mill the design, you can either control the router with the lead screws and stops as shown here, or you can mill a template with a 1/2" router bit and let the stylus follow the template. Following a template has two advantages. Number one, it's fast. And number two, the template doesn't have to be straight. Barry LaChance used this feature to create the skirting on this classic table. This picture frame molding is a more complex application of the XYZ milling. And here you can see an OG molding being milled for a jewelry box project. Have you ever needed just a few feet of a very special shape or profile? Richard Miller needed just 5 feet of a 14-inch wide crown molding with a smooth OG profile. Paying for the tooling to create this molding would have cost a small fortune. Richard quickly milled the molding, saved a bundle of money, and got the job out the door on schedule. A job that most shops would simply have to pass on. Now let's take a close-up look of the features of the mill when milling between centers. The next feature of the Legacy Ornamental Mill is the adjustable bed. By raising and lowering the bed, you can accommodate different sizes of projects, up to 11 inches in diameter. Adjusting either end of the bed allows you to mill tapers. Here you can see just how easy it is to turn a round leg on a taper. You can just as easily mill the part square, or 6-sided, or 8-sided, or any number of surfaces you wish on a taper. As you can see, creating a taper on the Legacy is much faster, safer, and easier than using a lathe or a jig on your table saw. Contoured milling, or following a template, is the third feature of the ornamental mill and is a simple variation of the XYZ milling. By letting the Y-axis control float in and out, a gradual curve can be milled by using a two-dimensional pattern or template, similar to a copy lathe, only far more versatile. You can easily follow a template to mill a round part like the one shown here on the left, but that is just the beginning. As you can see, the parts can also be milled square or any number of surfaces when using the indexing head, or they can be spiraled when using the gearing. The cabriolet or Queen Anne style leg is another good example of the contoured milling process. As you can see, a template allows you to mill just about any shape you wish. A template can also be used on a flat table as shown earlier while making the dental molding. Here one is used to mill a pattern on a piece of flat stock. The fourth feature of the Legacy Ornamental Mill is the indexing or dividing system. This allows you to divide the rotation of a workpiece and lock it in place with the indexing pin. The most common application of the indexing system is traditional fluting and reeding. Any number divisible by the standard 24 positions will create evenly spaced flutes, reeds, flat surfaces, and joinery. Other indexing plates are also available. Dr. Cortland Smith from Kennett, Missouri uses this feature to create his Taza reproductions. Here you can see how to use a side-cutting router bit and the indexing system to mill reeds on a contoured profile. There are several bits available for milling from the side as shown here to create different sized flutes and reeds. Barry LaChance from League City, Texas used the same technique to create the newel post for this beautiful staircase. A less obvious but equally important benefit is the ability to combine XYZ milling and the indexing system to mill joinery, such as mortise and tenons. Because the stock is mounted between centers, you can mill the joinery on both square and round stock. You can also use the indexing to mill dovetail slots. First, you'll mill a groove for chip relief, and then you'll mill the dovetail slot. This sample has the joinery milled at 120-degree spacing for a three-legged pedestal. August Calderero from Colorado Springs used the indexing system to mill slots on the rope corner pieces for his Southwest-style blanket chest. As you can see, the indexing is extremely simple to use and yet has tremendous versatility.
The last feature of the Legacy Ornamental Mill is the spiral drive.
The spiral drive is made up of three components: the drive gear, the directional gear, and the gear reduction set. The Legacy Model 1000 comes with 7 drive gears. By referring to the chart on the headstock, you can quickly identify the drive gear and gear reduction set required for the desired pitch. The directional drive with 2 gears gives you a right-hand spiral, while the single gear will mill a left-hand spiral. Here you can see how quickly you can create spirals on the Legacy. In just 30 seconds, we will mill a foot of the single start barley twist design. For a single start barley twist, you simply set the pitch to match the diameter of the router bit and mill from end to end. It does not matter how fast or slow you drive the router with the handle or the optional motor drive, the pitch will stay consistent. You can easily change the pitch, the number of starts, the direction of the spiral, and the router bit to create an almost unlimited number of spiral designs. Here we used the barley twist router bit but made the pitch longer and milled 3 starts. The router bit creates the profile with a beautiful finish. The Legacy keeps each spiral uniform and evenly spaced. To mill a rope design, you simply change the bit and set the desired pitch. A traditional rope design will usually have either 2 or 3 starts, but you can make it with as many as you wish. For this sample, we are milling a 4-start design. Frederick Haas of Lake Park, Florida, milled a simple rope design to transform this 4-poster bed into a stunning, one-of-a-kind work of art. He combined a single start barley twist with some dramatic turnings to create this beautiful table. To change the direction of the spiral, you simply exchange the directional drive. If you mill the spiral in both directions on the same piece, you can create the pineapple or diamond pattern, depending upon the router bit you use. Here we use the rope molding bit to create the pillowed diamond. For this next design, we first milled a 2-start barley twist, and then used an upcut spiral cutter and plunged straight through to the center to create the hollow spiral. Each of the 5 features of the Legacy Ornamental Mill would be a very powerful addition to your workshop. However, the real power of the Legacy is that it allows you to combine these features to create impressive works of art. James Neff from Catasauqua, Pennsylvania, combined indexing, contours, and spirals to create this very impressive piece. For additional information, please visit our website at www.legacywoodworking.com.